Hey, it's Will Ripley here with JamPlay.com. What we're going to get into is this major scale, so I'm going to show you the scale, and it's going to be a great scale to know, and you're going to get a ton of value from just learning it and knowing it. However, we're going to expand off of the major scale, and I'm going to show you how pretty much everything that you need to know about music can actually be referenced back to your major scale. And so it's a really powerful concept here. And so the big thing with the major scale is if you've seen the sound of music or heard that song, we've got that kind of sound, and kind of like everybody knows this, like even little kids and adults and everybody in between. It's kind of like one of these worldly sounds that everybody has heard somewhere. And what the sound is, the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay, so and then it just continues from there. So here's the scale. We're going to play it. Actually, we're going to pop it up into C. I'll share with you why we're doing that in a second. But here's the major scale. Of course, there's a ton of different ways of playing this, but I really like this shape. So here we go. Okay, so what that is, it's essentially two perfect octaves of that major scale. So we got do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and then it goes into the next octave. Okay, so we've got 2 octaves of it. Now, what's cool about this scale is, like I said, we can kind of reference a bunch of knowledge back to the major scale, but the major scale is kind of this unaffected, kind of perfect sound. And it may not be your favorite sound. I mean, a lot of guys, like myself, for instance, I kind of prefer the sound of blues and kind of the major mixed with blues and stuff like that. That's kind of my favorite. We'll talk about that later on. But this is the most important starting base, because this is like the unaffected, most pure sounding scale. And of course, everything is up for debate in music. But what's cool about this is that we've got, you can kind of think of these notes as 1 through 8. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, each one of these notes has a particular name for it. And I'm really excited actually to share with you, I think in the next lesson, the lesson after, of how all these notes sound and how you can start getting all of these different colors just into your knowledge base, and so you understand kind of more so how music starts sounding, and how we've like brought this crazy understanding to music, which hopefully I'll let you in on and shine some light on for you. Now, this particular sequence is this perfect unaffected sound that goes through our root, our major second, our major third, our perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and then our perfect octave. And you've probably already seen me talk about this shape right here if you don't know it already. So that's why there's that perfect octave. So those are the names of the notes when they in relation back to this note. Now, the reason that we're doing this in the key of C is because if you know your alphabet, you can actually know all of these notes already. So for example, starting from C, the next note's D, E, F, G, and then the musical alphabet essentially stops at G and starts over again. And then we're back at A, B, and C. And so what you'll find with scales is that they're generally 7 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then they start repeating. Pentatonic scale, for instance, only has 5 notes, and it's kind of based more so on a minor scale. So between those two things, knowing that we've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, right? So it just kind of goes in sequence of the musical alphabet, and that we've got this perfect unaffected sound called the major scale, which is really kind of the basis of, really, I would maybe even say most music out there. Certainly like a lot of classical music, jazz music, and a ton of pop music is all based in major. And so that's why it's really important to know. Now, what we're going to get into in future lessons is how we can take these notes that we're learning here, and how we get more blues sounds and more classic rock sounds, but how we can kind of like all resort it back to this quintessential, like most important, unaffected major sound. Because at the end of the day, that's all these other scales are. And we'll talk about modes in future lessons too. Maybe you've heard of those. There's all these crazy scales like Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Mixolydian, Lydian, Aeolian, all these crazy names for these crazy scales, which really are totally different. But what's important to know about those is that they're just the major scale, but with slightly varied notes. So for example, we can take a C major, and instead of the 7th note being there, if we move it down 1 fret, so that will end up making the scale like this. Right? It really kind of changes the tonality of the scale, and therefore it would get a different name. That's called a Mixolydian scale, when you alter that one note. So what you can immediately get from this scale is just getting your fingers moving in that direction. It's a really great little workout. You can just cycle that just over and over, and it'll be really great practice for your fingers. But yeah, so just start recognizing some of those really important musical theoretical things, like it's a 7-note scale. In the key of C, we've got all these notes like C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then it just starts over again at C, and which will help you find the notes on the fretboard. And it's really just the basis of most popular music out there. And even the stuff that's not popular music or based around like these super happy major tonalities can actually be derived from the major scale, because essentially that's all these other scales are just alterations of a major scale. So stick around. In the next lesson, we're going to be breaking down all 8 notes, and we'll be talking more about these notes, because I mentioned that we've got our root, our major 2nd, our major 3rd, perfect 4th, and all that kind of stuff. I want to bring more clarity to that, which is intervals. So stick around. We'll catch you in the next lesson.